Hey folks, it's Frithgar here, how you doing? Welcome back to Farming Simulator 19 here in Boulder Canyon. I'm just letting this one go up along here, mainly because I want to see if that bale is going to cause us any problems. And no, it doesn't appear to. Seems like he's going to be alright. So that one's going to go on and keep going with the mowing. We're going to leave that one. We're not particularly interested in that one. What we want to do is we want to go up here. You may notice that I've currently got $15,200, and I did not have $15,200 when I started. There is another thing that I want to do, and that is I want to go into the shop, and I want to go here. I'll explain $15,000 in a second. I'm going to go to there. And then I want to go up here, and I want to go to Percy over here. And that bad boy right there, I'm going to buy that one. Okay. And then we're going to get that one from the store. So, what I'm going to do... I've got that one. Hang on. Before we go to the store and we buy that, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start landscaping again. I'm going to come down here first, and we're going to do what we did last time, which was just... dig down and expose the stumps like that, except that I do want to do it a little bit carefully. I mean, we made a bit of a mess here last time doing this, but I still need to expose the stumps, and you can see we've still got quite a number of stumps here. So there's the stumps exposed back there. Then the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to increase the brush strength. I want to tidy this up a bit. A lot of you said, I had a lot of feedback about this last week, that I shouldn't really have done this. Like, I made a pig's ear of this, there's no denying. It's an absolute mess all the way through. It really is a mess. And I'd already gone through and I ground out the stumps. I used a stump grinder, I correctly applied it, and it was because of an error with the game, not because of an error with the way that I was doing things, that these stumps still remain. So a lot of you feel that me removing the stumps like this is unrealistic gameplay, and I shouldn't be doing it like this. And certainly I've wasted $15,000 doing that, or $18,000, whatever it was, and I shouldn't have done it. So I've decided to reach a compromise. I've added a bit more money in so that I can just kind of clean this a little bit, and I've tweaked the stump grinder as well. So while I'm... let me just do this. I'm going to increase the brush strength all the way up like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start sort of evening this up a little bit, just so that I can get around here with the tractor. I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit, and we will do more smoothing work afterwards. Once we're done here, I will do some more smoothing work. But right now, we're just going to sort of leave it like this, and then we'll go over and we'll do it again. And I will possibly apply a little bit more money to this, just to make it easy. But by doing this, it means that we are actually going to be able to get round here with the tractor, which I feel would probably be a good thing to start with, because we were struggling to get here with anywhere near the stumps. So I didn't really know what I was doing with the bio belts, and I made some adjustments to it in the XML file and also in the main editor. Not really 100% sure what change I did has had the desired effect, although I have tested it and it does seem to be doing what I want it to do. Petro Gracemark has decided to go and take a look at this one, and as we know, he's proving himself to be quite the competent mod tweaker. So I'm hopeful that he will... He did kind of have it already understood and tried to explain it to me before I started recording this one. Exactly what change should be made to the stump grinder and how said change should be made in order to make it work. So he did sort of explain, and I tried to understand it, but I wasn't quite 100% sure on exactly why it's doing what it's doing, and why... I'm not really sure why my change has worked either. I did test quite a number of different changes in order to try and get it to work, and not everything was entirely successful. So it was very much a trial and error sort of approach, and I did get some of it working. Yeah, that's possibly gone down a little bit too far. I did get some of it working, but not all of it. I am just going to fill in some of the worst of these bits here. I know that we've already removed these stumps, but I'm still going to tidy up the worst of it, like that. And then we'll come back over this afterwards, and I will tidy it up again. If I've got to add a little bit more money to... I don't think I'm going to need to. The leveling process is generally pretty good. It will probably mean that we end up removing almost all of the grass in this area. We're going to have to redefine the field down the bottom down here in order to get this to work properly. And then we'll get started on making our new field as well. So we have got a little bit of work that's going to need to be done in order to correct everything on here. But I'm happy with that. You know, just doing this the once. I know we did it a little bit in the main field, but doing it the once on here, I think, is going to work out all right. I'm reasonably happy with doing it like this. Yeah, if I do that, it's going to bring that one up a little bit. One thing I noticed in my testing was the tall stumps are a real pain to try and do anything with. So you do want to sort of bring them up. And the adjustment I've made on the stump grinder means that it actually works just fine without having it up. You don't need to fully expose the stumps, whereas with the stump grinder as it is, I mean, I don't know if it's actually the stump grinder or the trees on the map. It's possible that the trees, because you put in this many trees on a map, you're going to end up with some of them sticking, like they go down a long way below the level of the map, and I think that's what's happened here. Some of these trees are like stuck down a little bit too far, and that's caused us a little bit of a problem with the stump grinder. But by tweaking the stump grinder, if I can like fully... the changes I've made, I don't fully understand what I've done, so I'm not going to worry about those changes. But if I can fully understand the changes and what changes should really be done in order to make it work properly... Actually, I'm just going to leave that bit. Yeah, what changes should be done in order to make it really work properly, then I will tell you so that you can do it yourself. Because this mod is not mine, so I'm not going to release it, but I will tell you what numbers that you need to change in order to make it work properly. And I'll see if I can do that in the next episode or two, so long as I can fully... I need to be able to understand it myself first. I'm not going to try to explain something that I don't myself fully understand. So once I have grasped the full working of it, and I really do understand how and why things are doing what they're doing, then I can explain it to you. And I'm not going to see... Otherwise, it's a bit like the blind leading the blind. I don't want to be that person who's... Whoa! I forgot I increased the brush strength. Whoops! My bad. Okay, let's bring that... I tell you what, we'll... That also uses a load of money if you go and do that. Right, if I just adjust it like that, do it on a great big circle. There we go. Right. That's done. That's much better. We've now got the stumps exposed, so that's that bit done. Right? Next step. I'm going to keep this stump grinder here, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to go and move it over. The one with Percy written on it, that's just my adjustment for... today's episode, so that we can go and get rid of these stumps here. So I will keep this stump grinder. I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm just going to leave it there. We're going to go now. Actually, I'll tell you what, we will just check this one and make sure this one's still working all right. And it does seem to be. It does seem to be going up and down without too much trouble. It's not slowing down at the moment. So it's coming along quite nicely. The bales... At the moment, we haven't had anything flick over into the way, and it's going at a reasonable speed as well. It's not slowing down. Like the Deutz tractor, it really did struggle to build up. I mean, it would do it, but it struggled to build up the speed necessary to keep this job running. So at the moment, this one is doing just fine, so we can leave that one going while we go and concentrate on some other things. It's got a little bit to do right there, which means that we'll probably come back over and just tidy up that end bit afterwards. A little bit later on. Not quite sure. But anyway, we're not interested in that. We want to go over to here. We want to grab that one. And I've got the new stump grinder over there. The Percy grinder. We're going to take that one. We're going to put it onto our transporter. Well, this is the shop's one, remember. This belongs to the shop. So this is just a temporary measure for today. And then that one there, that biobelts, that will be sold back again. And then I'm hoping that I will better understand how the mod works and what I need to do in order to make a stump grinder work properly, so that I will be able to adjust the one that we've actually got, the one that we own properly. And I will just update that file and give it a little tweak so that it will handle all of the stumps on this map. Because I think the problem is not the grinder itself, because I've used the grinder on the other map that I'm doing, the Black Mountain one, and I used it to remove good couple of hundred stumps on there and not a set. Well, actually, there was one. There was one that was at a funny angle, or one of the trees that was lying down. It was the only one that it didn't get. Every other stump, it seems to have picked them all out of the ground. So I'm confident that it's not actually the stump grinder itself. I think it's because the trees, some of them are a little bit too low into the ground, which, considering the number of trees on this map, is kind of an understandable thing to happen. So I'm just going to ignore that. All we need to do is we need to tweak the stump grinder so that it will deal with the trees in every state, and then we don't need to worry about it. We've got a stump grinder that will work effectively and properly on this map. And if I can tell you what the number is that I've changed, well, that has been changed, because I know that Petro is looking at it this morning, so he may end up just sending me an updated one, and then I will look at the numbers most carefully and see every single little comparison. But for this one, like I said, not only did I tweak some numbers, but I also went into the actual model of it. I don't know if I said that. I definitely said it this morning on the Discord, so I don't know if I've told you, the viewer. I went in, tweaked some of the numbers in the XML file, and I tweaked a couple of the numbers in there, because I wasn't quite sure which ones I should have been tweaking. And then I also went into the model in the Giants editor, and on the model, you know, you can adjust the work area and stuff that I've done. I've done that previously for other things in other series. You can increase the work area. I've increased the work area on this one slightly. It now works behind the stump grinder as well as around the stump grinder. And I'm hoping that's kind of like that would make life a little bit easier for us. And I also lowered a point called the ground point reference. And what that is it tells as far as I know, it tells the game and the machine and everything where the ground, oops, okay, we didn't mean to do that, where the ground is in regards to the stump grinder. So there's a physical point that's set on the model, and that's the point that is level with the ground. So what I've done is I've lowered that down. So it thinks that the ground is about 2 meters below where the actual ground point is, and that seems to have worked. That seems to then allow the stumps to be all removed. And I'm not quite sure why that has worked. I don't fully understand why it's done what it's done, but it has done it. And that's the important part. It's the fact that it has done it. So even though I don't understand it, I'm happy that it's done what it's supposed to have done for me. I'm going to go along here, and I'm going to leave that stump grinder right there. So let's lower you down and unhitch, and we will get that one back on afterwards. Once we've removed these stumps, we get that one back on, and then we can take that back to the yard, because we will want to use it again. It's just that I will probably need to just tweak the numbers when I have fully understood properly what numbers we're supposed to be tweaking. But I'll show you this one in a second. Let's just go into the map a second, and these will now drive back to the shop. Yeah, so that one's going to drive back to the shop. That one there is going to drive back to the shop. And that one there is going to drive back to the shop. Okay, and then I'm just going to double check you. Make sure you're working still. All going good. No hiccups. Just going to drop that bale. There we go. Got another 8,000 litre bale all done. Excellent. I'm going to do that. Right. Stump grinding. let's get to it. So we've evened up the ground a little bit, so it should be a bit easier for this one to now drive around. And I'll bring that one back. Oh, there's one thing I want to show you with this, right? This is the other thing that I've done with it. Because the ground point reference is now different, while it's still up in the air, see? And you can see it's working. Like, we know that this one does do this, and you can see the work area behind me as well. So that's the kind of change that I made on there. And then, so all I got to do is leave it up in the air. I don't actually have to do anything with it at all, apart from just have it running. But when I bring it over like this, it doesn't always work. There. Right, so now that's actually removed the stump completely, so I've still got to... It's like where the top of it is. I don't fully understand where the top of it is either, but I'm hoping in future that, because we're not going to need to do all of this nonsense with digging up the ground, having huge, great big stumps is not going to make any difference. But this, now, we should, in theory, be able to go around and remove every tree stump. We shouldn't have any issue with it, and then we'll go back to doing the whole editing thing again. There we go. Just like that. We'll go back to doing the whole editing thing again, the landscaping bit, and we will smooth all of this area off properly so that we can then go on with turning this whole area into a field. See, I lower that down, it looks like it's removed the stump now. Come down there and get that one. There we go. So it's still quite uneven here. And I'm hoping I can just do that there. That one actually seemed like it went under the map a little bit. So, like, occasionally it maybe doesn't quite get all of the stump. So I'm not quite sure 100% how it's working and why it's doing some of the things that it's doing. See, right there. That was another one. But now it's actually gotten rid of. And so I do need to make sure that I test them every time. Got to make sure that we do actually have all of the stumps removed, and this is why I need to understand better what the numbers are that need to be changed so that I can do it properly in the future. Right, that one's alright. Because I don't want to do this. I don't want to have to do this for every field, because it's just going to be tedious, and none of you are going to want to watch me messing around with this either. So it's... yeah, you're fine. I'll go and get that stump over there. Then we'll start working along the ones at the bottom. And then we'll start going back up the hill and with all of these ones up there. So, yeah. It is a bit of a pain having to do these all twice. For a minute there I thought I'd sort of wedged myself up over the thing and I was stuck. And there you go. There was another bit that was below the map, but we have actually removed it. And then we got these two bits over here. This is old ones that we did with the chainsaw, this is. These are quite old, these are. Right, there's nothing left under that one. And let's just turn that a little bit, like that. There you go. Right, and here you can see I've actually... the stump grinder bit is working, but now I've got that log right there, and this is the other bit with it that I don't quite understand. It ground the stump away, but then it's gone and left this little bit of log behind, which we don't really want it to do that. So we're going to have to go with option 2 here. We're going to pick that one up. I'm going to turn it, because if I turn it like that, there, I can do this. I can get that to sit. There. Right. That's sat. Just like that. Now, I'm hoping I can travel back to that and then actually chop it up. Because if it's on its end, you can cut it. If it's on its side, the stump grinder doesn't seem to cut it. But if it's like this, it will do it. And this is to do with the numbers again. There's certain numbers that affect how it does this. See? Right there, that's taken that bit. And then I do that and it's removed it all completely. And then I come over to here and got sort of roughly the same issue going on there. Turn that one off, and then we've got another stump that's a little bit too high out of the ground right there. So that one there, I haven't got very many like this, but that one right there, we'd be better off if we were to cut that one in half like this, and then I'll put the part stump right next to it, because we've also got that other little bit next to it as well. There, if I do that, like that, and then I bring this stump grinder back, it should, I'm hoping, grind all of it. Start you up. There we go. It's removed the actual stump, and it's removed that as well. I seem to want to remove this bit. Why won't you take that bit? We've got one little bit that's left. It's just a wedge that's... And this is something that does frustrate me, is you've got a wedge like that, and there is nothing whatsoever that you can do with it. Right? You can't do anything with it at all, apart from hope that, like, it'll disappear somehow, some way. But the problem is, it doesn't disappear, and then you're sort of left with bits of stump, and you're left with, like, these little wedges. Right, he's gone over there. We'll have to... Actually, you know what? Let's go over and deal with him first. Let's go to you. Oh, I see. He's just got too much in the way to be able to cope with it. So, start you up, and go to that one and start you up. I'll bring you through round that way, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to run down over here a second. I'm going to turn around and I'm going to do a run with the mower back up through. Switch that one over there like that, and then we're going to go like this, and then I'm going to lower that one down, start you up, and we're going to go up through this grass. I've only got one more run really to go and do through there. I know I'm leaving lots of grass, but honestly, it's something I can live with. Leaving the grass there is something I can live with. I'm just going to back up a minute. We've got more grass that I've just left down there. Like that. And what I think we will do is, I may even just leave this entire chunk right here, because, I mean, we don't get a lot of grass out of it, and it takes longer to do that bit than it does any of the rest of the field, pretty much, doesn't it? And I could just travel around a bit and do a little bit like this. Just kind of going through and having a quick sort of run around. This isn't going to hurt doing this, I suppose, is it? I don't want to spend too long doing this, because I want to get back to doing the stump grinding. I want to have that done. Although I don't think we're going to get that done today. It'd be nice if I could have gotten everything done today, but I don't think that's going to happen somehow. So, I'll take out a little bit more of that. And I want to go out round like this. And then back into it again. There we go. Oh, I've had a little bit of a discussion going on. People were asking, why go up that hill instead of down that hill? And some people... I said, well, the reason that I've been doing that is because of that Deutz tractor over there struggles to go up any hill. And if I was to go the other way round, so I go down that little short incline there, the tractor would then be having to pull up a hill for halfway round the field. More than halfway round the field, it would be having to pull up a hill. And I didn't want it to be doing that, because I thought that was just going to end up taking too long. So for that reason, I've been going up the really steep short bit, and then down all the rest of the map. All the rest of the field, sorry. That seemed like a good idea, but somebody else pointed out, I think this was the feed guy, actually, that you would usually go up a steep incline like that, and then down the longer straight. Because if you try to go down too steep an incline, you run the risk of jackknifing your vehicle. Now, ordinarily, yes, I would agree. Now, jackknifing is when you sort of lose control, the weight, the thing behind, pushes down and it ends up pushing your wheels sideways and it twists around and you have nasty accidents. That's jackknifing, for those of you who aren't aware of what it is. And yes, absolutely, going down a hill, you do run the risk of a jackknife accident, and that's not very good. However, I would not consider that little short hill there to be a jackknife risk, because you can run down it straight. Yes, it's very steep, but you can run down that hill straight, and you've got a long run out at the bottom. Jackknife becomes more of a problem if you don't have a run out at the bottom. If you're not able to run straight at the bottom of the hill, then it suddenly becomes a little bit more of an issue, because you got nowhere, you haven't got like a safe runoff that you can go. And then you sort of got to take the whole threat of a jackknife a lot more seriously. And also, this is a very short piece of hill. So, again, it significantly reduces the risk of a jackknife occurring. And also, well, it just significantly reduces the risk of it occurring in the first place. Because it's such a short little bit of steep hill, it's not really something that you would be particularly concerned about. But, I mean, there is still a chance it could happen. But if you do feel that something is going a little bit amiss, you've got the run out at the bottom that would be a little bit more, you'd be able to play it safe with that. Now, over there, that's a long steep hill, right? We've got a lot of hill over there. And that could end up taking, that could potentially end up being dangerous. There is some actual jackknifing risk on that hill over there. Not significant, but what you wouldn't do is you wouldn't have, like this large baler behind that small tractor going down the hill. Well, you'd try to avoid it. It would be best if you didn't. It would be better if you had a bigger tractor. Now, sometimes you are using vehicles that can't go up the hill, and so your only option is to go down the hill. This is a very dangerous thing to do, and it's something that should only be undertaken by the most experienced of drivers. Even drivers who are not, if you've got some experience. I know plenty of experienced drivers who flat out would not use a vehicle like this one with a big heavy baler like that going down a hill like this. Purely because it is a very dangerous situation to put yourself in, and it could result in something very nasty happening. Right? There is a very real risk of something going wrong. I do know some very experienced drivers that would do it, but it's the sort of situation where, I know a lot of farmers that will have their kids in the cab with them. Right, we finally got that little piece. That's good. I know a lot of farmers that will have their kids in the tractor cab with them on a regular basis. And they're also experienced enough that they would work a field like that with tractors that are technically a little bit too small for what they're pulling, and thus greatly increases the danger of what they're doing. It becomes much more of a risky enterprise. Those same farmers that I know that would do that would feel that they were able to go and do that particular job, would never consider taking their children in the cab with them, because they know just how dangerous that job is. And a regular job, you sort of working on normal, not quite so steep hills, or a big powerful tractor that's going up and down. Yep, fine. The kids would spend many, many hours in the cab with them, riding alongside their father or their mother, riding up and down the fields and so on and so forth. But I know plenty of farmers, and I've seen it happen a number of times, who've got their kids with them while they're doing various different jobs. They get to some particularly steep ground, the kids are out the cab. There is no way they're staying in the cab with the farmer. He's confident in his own abilities, but he's not so overconfident that he's certain nothing will happen, and he doesn't want to risk. And that, I've always felt, is sort of the sign of a particularly good driver. Is one that is able to go and do it and knows that they're able to go and do it, but also appreciates that there are unseen risks in a situation like that, and are not so overconfident in their own abilities that they're certain that nothing would go wrong. As soon as you become certain that nothing can go wrong, things will start to go wrong. And that, for me, is sort of more of a sign of a good driver than the actual ability to go up and down the hills. It's the fact that the driver recognizes their own, not only their own limitations, but the limitations of the machine and the limitations of the situation that they're in, and potentially what could really, really go badly wrong. And that's sort of the bit, because if you get someone that's overconfident, is generally convinced that nothing can go wrong for them while they're doing any particular task, and that overconfidence can very often be a person's undoing. Because if you are convinced that it can't go wrong, then you immediately start making other assumptions about the situation, and you may not necessarily take all of the precautions that you should be taking whilst you're doing that job, and then things can go horribly, horribly wrong. So yeah, the whole jackknifing thing, interesting, a very interesting discussion, and yes, the steep hills should be a concern, but for me personally, if I was looking at this situation in real life down over there, that bit of hill over there wouldn't be a concern for me for jackknifing the tractor, purely because of the way the rest of the land is around there. I mean, maybe it should be. Maybe I'm a little bit too confident myself with it. Maybe I'm being too confident. That's entirely possible. But looking at it, because of the shortness, because of the length of the incline, which is a very short length of incline, and also the fact that you've got a big flat run-out area below it, that's why I don't think that there's much of a risk with it at all. I genuinely believe that there isn't much of a risk with that one. If that was in real life, this down here, running down that hill, there, this is quite steep up here. There is much more of a danger, right? This one you'd have to be a lot more cautious about. And I personally would be a lot more cautious about this one. If I was working this field, I've worked plenty of fields where the tractor is not really physically capable of going up the steep bit. You can only go down the steep bit. You get to the top of the hill, and you put it into a very low gear, and you work your way down the hill, going very, very slowly. You go slow. If you think you're going, if you think, oh, maybe I could speed this up a bit, you're probably getting overconfident. Go very slowly. Going very slowly is the answer. If you're in any doubt whatsoever, going very slow, like a really, really steep hill. If the tractor can't go up that hill, then you need to be treating it with the utmost respect, because if the tractor's not physically capable of getting up the hill, trust me, it can go down that hill pretty quickly and a lot faster than you would actually want it to. So yeah, that was my sort of musings on the subject, and it was quite an interesting point, as why was I going up that little short hill if I knew it was taking so long? Well, the main reason for that is that this tractor is, it does have a little bit of pull with it, but it's not strong enough to really be able to maintain full speed going around the edge of this field and then going all the way up that incline. And so I didn't want it going half speed for most of it, so I put it going really slow up that little bit of an incline, and then the rest of it was able to go full speed because it was all a gentle downhill. And that's not something that's going to cause any jackknife problems, anything like that. And it seemed like the best option. I think working this field here, generally, I would go up this side, up the less steep part, and then I would go down the steepest part. That's what I would do. For most of the work in this field, I would go down that steepest part, because you're not going to get stuck halfway up. Getting stuck halfway up can be just as problematic as sliding down. For work in the soil, planting, anything like that, it's not really much of an issue, so going down the hill is probably the best option, because you've got stuff that's in the ground that's slowing you down anyway. So that's not really going to be any concern. going up the hill, certainly if you're seeding or something like that, you don't want to be in a situation where your wheels are spinning, because it's just going to make a mess of the ground, and you don't want to do that. Ploughing, you'd struggle to plough up the hill. Your tractor would struggle to be able to physically move the plough up the hill. So again, you'd be wanting to go down the hill. Mowing, pretty much the same, really, because if you're mowing, you've got the fresh grass under your wheels. If you've got a front mower on, and if it's a side mower, I suppose it doesn't really matter. You could go up or down the hill. Depending on the type of mower you got, it would probably still be a better option to go down the hill. Mainly that's to do with the speed, though. I mean, most of the mowers that we'd be using would be mounted on the 3-point linkage, so a jackknifing occurrence is not something that you'd need to worry about. And again, with this field, we don't have anything at the bottom, right? That's a big thing. Now, if there was a fence at the bottom and you had to turn on the hill, that would be a little bit different. You would want to go up the hill where you could if you thought there was any danger of you not being able to stop on the hill. And that's the really big issue, is if there's a fence at the bottom, then it's altogether different, because you've got a situation where you may not necessarily be able to stop, and if you can't stop, you might not be able to turn properly either. I've been in situations like that, where I could neither stop nor turn properly, and ended up getting slightly jackknifed. Now, it didn't end up in a serious accident, but it certainly ended up in me getting stuck and wedged into a corner, very nearly unable to get out at all. And that is because I was going down the hill. I mean, it turned out I didn't have any choice but to go down the hill. That was because the hill was sort of much the same on both sides, and I needed to get down the hill to be able to go back up the hill. That was the field that I was working. The person I was working for did warn me that the hill was a little bit of a problem, and warned me to be careful while I was using said vehicle on the hill. So I had warning, and I was expecting it, but yeah, it's one of those things. And I just realised I've been sat here yapping for ages, and I've gone way over the time I was supposed to spend on this episode. So I'm going to wrap it up now. We will finish doing all of this stump grinding in our next episode. If you've enjoyed this one, then please head down below and give us a like. And if you really enjoyed it, then please tell your friends all about me. Get them to come and watch as well. That would be awesome. I was hoping to sort of hammer it down. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. This is Frithgar. Goodbye, and see you later.